Greetings, fellow readers. Author Jonathan Yeakey here, and welcome to the most important writing tips ever, where we'll give you just the tips and so much more. With me today is hybrid author of books like Plain Hurt and Funny Meeting You Here, Holly Schindler. Holly, thanks so much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Let's start off with the term hybrid author. Now, what is that? Is it the car? Do you drive a hybrid? Do you write about hybrids? What is it?
Yeah, within the last few years, a lot of the terminology in publishing has changed just because there's so many exciting things happening, I think, in publishing right now. And when I use the term hybrid, what I'm saying is that I've been published, by traditional publishing houses. And I've also published on my own, independently. I think it's also known as self-publishing, but I think a lot of self-published authors prefer the term independent authors. So when I use the term independent or hybrid, I'm actually saying I've published in every way, really almost in every way possible, right? I've published through traditional houses, and in that regard, I've published with the big five, and then also with smaller houses. And I've published on my own, through KDP, self-published works on my own. So in a lot of regards, I've seen the publishing industry from all different angles. I've put out work on my own where when I put work out on my own, what I love about it is that I'm doing all of it myself. I do all of it. I do the formatting, the design, the cover design, the interior design, which is important in your paperbacks. And I have in-house editorial where I bounce a manuscript back and forth with my in-house editor. My mom's always been my first reader. So we bounce the manuscript back and forth, and I copy edit it and I put it out. And it lets me kind of see in real time, what my choices are, what readers are connecting with, what covers get picked up. And I can see, even when I change out covers, I can see the impact that has. When I change the marketing blurb, I can see the impact that has. So, it shapes what I send out to traditional publishing in a way, that it wouldn't without it. I feel like I've gained so much from the independent or self-publishing aspect that I never would have had otherwise. And I think, I've said before, I think, anybody who wants to write ought to self-publish something, just because you learn so much from doing that way.
Absolutely. In a lot of ways, it's almost like starting your own business.
Oh, absolutely. I've heard the term too, authorpreneur, instead of entrepreneur. Yeah, it is. You have to take on the full load of the marketing and the publicity, and you're a one, kind of a one-man band. You're the one-man publishing house who does everything. And it's really, you also become tuned in, I think, to the industry in a different way than if you were just relying on, agents and editors to guide you through the process. So I think, I just think that's the most invaluable thing I've ever done, is to start releasing work.
Sure. And learning from your mistakes.
Oh yeah.
Publishing, I'm going to do a shameless plug right now. Publishing my own book.
Yes.
I have learned so much about what not to do.
Oh yeah.
What I need to do next time to make it smoother process for me and a smoother process for my readers.
Sure.
So Holly, when you start a story, how do you determine what genre it's going to fit into? Like, have you ever started on one story thinking it's going to be young adult, but then it turns into adult contemporary or horror or sci-fi?
I think that's a really great question. And I think sometimes you do change your mind, right? You get about 3 chapters in and you say, oh, this isn't going at all where I thought it needed to go. One of the things I do now that I didn't used to quite as much when I was first starting out writing is I really consider that outline the first draft, where I'm putting down just straight ideas and breaking it down and trying to figure out, where my beats are, what's going to happen when, how the chapters are going to divide out. When I'm doing that, who my characters are, figuring out who is going to populate this book. When I'm doing that, I try to consider that the first draft. And I'm not the only person that does that. I've heard other people, advocate the same thing. But I think doing that, you don't feel like, it helps so many things. If you consider that the first draft, you don't feel like in your mind. Sometimes when you're outlining, you can feel like this is the throwaway stuff. This is like some little exercise I do before I really get to the nitty gritty of writing a book. And if you stop thinking about it that way, if you say, this is writing the book, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is it. I'm doing it.
I view it like building a house. Not that I have ever built a house or have any business building a house, but for me, I like to lay down a solid foundation first, and then build upon that.
Yes, and that can absolutely cut down on getting halfway through a book and saying, oh my gosh, I think this is actually a YA. I think I need to go back and redo 20,000 words. If you just make yourself sit down and write the most detailed outline you possibly can, which doesn't mean that it's going to stick to it 100%. I have never done an outline that was 100% the book at the end. Everything always changes. And I think you got to kind of treat it organically. And when things veer off in an interesting direction, I think you always have to explore that a little bit. But those outlines are so invaluable because you can just cut down on so much of the throwaway stuff, writing 25, 30,000 words and then throwing it away and starting over again, trying to save something in the 20,000 words that you can use. I mean, we've all been there. We've all done that so many times. And anything you can do to keep from, those massive, off to the trash bin moments, so those outlines, I think, just will save you, I think, so many times. Yeah.
You have 2 new books, Plain Hurt and Funny Meeting You Here. Tell us a little about what readers can expect from them.
Okay, yeah. Plain Hurt, some of my readers will already be familiar with Plain Hurt. That's the second book I released it in 2011, released it through a traditional publisher. It originally came out as a YA. And as things happen in the world of publishing, those rights bounced back to me, and I've re-released them again on the independent platform. And I also have a sequel lined up to come out later this year, or played again, catch up with those 2 characters and see what happened to them a little bit down the road. And Funny Meeting You Here is a completely this one's pretty different for me. Funny Meeting You Here is something I wrote, while we were all in isolation. And I was finding, you and I were having this discussion before we even started recording today, that I was finding that I was gravitating to were more light entertainment. My family and I are really enjoying watching Fallon in the evening and watching, watching all the funny bits, watching his daughters. We love the imperfectness of it. We love the little short sketches, the lightness of it. And I wanted to kind of, when I sat down to write, that's sort of what I was gravitating to even to write. And to me, one of the best parts of any story, doesn't matter what kind of story it is, if it's romance or mystery or literary fiction, one of my favorite parts is when characters meet for the first time. What that initial spark is, what brings them together. And in a lot of respects, when we were isolating, I felt like that's what we missed. We missed the opportunity to meet new people for the first time. We missed our own circle of friends, but we also missed, meeting new people, bringing new people into our lives. So this is 6 shorts. Funny Meeting You Here is comprised of 6 shorts, and all that happens are characters meet. It is the meetup, and it's humorous fiction. It's light, it's sweet, and it's just meant to be, a total pick-me-up. And I'm actually in the midst of, copy editing and getting ready to upload that soon, within the next week. So I'm really excited about it. I had such a fun time writing it. just playing with these characters and how they meet up. And I hope to do some more humor in the future because I had such a good time with it.
So Holly, we've talked a lot about writing today, but what would you say is the most important writing tip ever?
I think it's just persistence. And I bet you get that a lot. I think that's probably, what writers will come back to and tell you over and over again. And it is so true. It's you have to have it in every aspect of the industry. You have to have persistence in order to get the book finished. You have persistence in order, if you're going the traditional route, you have to have persistence in order to find the right representation or find the right publishing house. I've sold work through an agent, and in the cases when I did sell through an agent, it actually took a year plus of submission. I think a lot of people have this idea, I'm going to get an agent and everything's going to happen really fast, and it doesn't necessarily. You have to have the patience and persistence to stick it through multiple rounds of submission and multiple rewrites. You have to have the persistence, when you get crummy reviews, you have to have the persistence to get back to the computer and write again, and to have, maybe piggybacking on persistence is being open-minded about your own work. Listening to feedback. I think you have to listen to feedback as you're submitting and after it's over. When the reviews come in, I think you have to look at it, objectively. You have to kind of divorce yourself enough to look at it objectively and say, is this something I can work on in the future? Or is this something that needs to be worked on if it's a self-published release? Is this something that I need to work on now? Do I maybe need to pull this down and rework this manuscript and re-release? And again, it's persistence. I just have to keep at it. I have to keep at it. I have to keep growing. I have to keep the butt in the chair. There are a lot of hours of just isolation. Talk about isolation. There are a lot of hours, alone in the chair with the file up, and you have to have it through all aspects of the industry. One of the things I believed when I started out writing was that if I got the first deal, everything would flow easily after that, right? If I just could get the foot in the door, everything would flow easily, and it does not. The rejections still pour in. Editors leave, agents leave, and you've just got to keep moving. It's just one foot in front of the other.
And also the persistence of building readership too.
Oh yeah. Keep at it. Keep finding out who your readers are. Keep reaching out. Looking in new directions. Where can I advertise? Where can I, how can I build my newsletter? How can I reach out to my, where can I build the readership, and how can I sustain the readership? You don't want people to suddenly fall off either, right? So yeah, all of that is persistence. Yeah.
Holly, where can people find your books?
Pretty much anywhere books are sold. Amazon, all my self-pub stuff, even Amazon, Kobo, Barnes and Noble, and my paperbacks, and I have a few hardbacks out as well. Should be wide release. I do those with Ingram. So that should also be a wide release find. And I do have buy links to all my stuff on my website. So if you go to hollyschindler.com, any book that you're interested in, you can find direct buy links on the site.
Holly, thanks again for joining me today. Really appreciate it. You had a lot of good advice to share.
Thanks so much for having me. This was great. Thanks.
And everyone watching, thank you for tuning in. Be sure to check her out on her website. And until next time, keep reading.